So this one is called PTSD and mask wearing. And on cue there's a sudden outburst from an aggressive dog as I walk past the house. You know, the kind of dogs, that's kind of guard dogs. Right, so I want to address this because this is what I have PTSD due to historical childhood trauma and abuse, and I live in a country where I don't speak the language. So the option I don't have is to explain to people in the shops and the markets and all the other places I go, maybe the police in the street. I can't explain to them the reason why I'm not wearing a mask because they're not going to understand what I'm saying. And indeed, when I was in the market only a few days ago, this bloke in a uniform pointed to my partner and told her to tell me to put my mask on properly so it was covering my nose. And this is one of the things I have learned, actually, very useful. If you're in a situation where you have to wear a mask, one of the best things you can do, in my opinion, is to make sure your nose is uncovered. That helps enormously until such point as you may be subjected to further harassment, but that really is a good one. I find I can cope better if my nose is free. So what it feels to me is if I've got the mask on, it feels like I've been gagged, because that's actually what a mask is. It's a form of gag. It's a form of suppression of freedom. It instantly turns the mask wearer into an anonymous being with no face. They can become one of the faceless ones, and that's not a lot of fun, is it? You must have noticed, you go out and you see a bunch of people and they've all got masks on, you can't even see what their faces look like, which means you can't read their emotional expressions, which means that they are much more likely to be, dare I use the word, dangerous. If you can't read the people, you don't know which people are going to be hostile towards you, which people are going to be open and happy. You don't have a clue what's going on. So from my point of view, as soon as I put a mask on, actually before I put the mask on, if I arrive at a zone where I'm going to have to put a mask on, the very first thing that's going to happen is the anxiety levels are going to shoot through the roof as I've got to put this, excuse my language, fucking piece of cloth on my face to calm other people's fears, which means putting myself last. Don't like any of this, you can probably imagine. Then when I've actually got the thing on, I do notice that I suffer from hypoxia. Within, I would say, about 3 minutes I can start to feel the loss of oxygen into my system. After I've worn that mask for however long it is, so certainly if it's longer than 5 minutes, the first thing I do is I get the hell out, take the mask off and start doing some deep breathing to compensate for the temporary harm that's been done, where the CO2 in the body got too high and the oxygen got too low. That's definitely something that I do. And yes, it brings up trauma. It does. Wearing a mask brings up trauma, and to me that's particularly about being gagged, being silenced, being told to shut up, it being made very clear by others, the big adults around me, they didn't want to hear anything from me. It brings all that stuff up from the past. So I would say, from my own personal experience, that wearing a mask is traumatizing if you've got PTSD. There ain't no two ways about it. So every time I wear a mask, I get re-traumatized. And I'm living in a place where, as you'll begin to see in a moment, the majority of people here wear masks outside. Thank God they don't all, but the majority of them do. But anyway, we'll have a literal poll as we go down this wonderful Camino Largo, one of my favourite streets in La Laguna. The reason for that is because we've got these beautiful tall palm trees. Just look at them. Aren't they majestic? Aren't they magnificent? So this is one of the things I love about Camino Largo, are these wonderful tall palm trees. So You can do your own little straw poll as I continue to walk. You can notice the percentage of people that are and the percentage of people that aren't masked up. And I do hope I don't get the instructions to wear one while I do this. I think I'll be alright. I'm not going to go too far along here. But all that kind of mentality, the can I get away with it? Is it going to be okay this time? This is all part of the psychological mind control that's exerted just by the very fact that they are actually something that are mandated. Nice to see a bloke on the far right actually not wearing one. That was good. So from my point of view, wearing masks and PTSD really has triggered a lot of my historical abuse memories and causes me to feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I can certainly, well, I do always feel anxiety. I can also feel panicky, desperate, trapped. I have the sense that I'm being violated, because it is actually a violation when you think about it. If someone is actually ordering you to do something which you know is harmful to the health, hypoxia is a harmful condition. And here's another thing I want to point out. I'm not some newbie to wearing masks. When I was 18, 19, I had a job, and it was in the blood products laboratory. I used to work for 8 hours in this laboratory, and guess what I had to wear to do the job? We were working with blood plasma and blood products. Yeah, we used to wear a gown, a mask, a head's covering, gloves and boots. So we were completely PPE'd, they call it today. And I spent 8 hours a day working in this place, which is like a glorified factory, dressed up like that. And I remember how that felt, too vividly perhaps, seeing as it's such a long time ago. It's amazing I have any memories of it at all, but I do, because it was, you guessed it, it was another re-traumatizing experience. And I was very, very glad to let go of that job and go and do something else, as you can probably imagine. So as far as I'm concerned, if you suffer from anything like PTSD, they really are a serious issue, and what you've got to do is you've got to develop your own strategies and ways of working around it, particularly if you're in a foreign country. I'm delighted to say this, and I'm dismayed to say this let's do the dismayed. I'm dismayed to say this in the UK, according to Dr. Vernon Coleman, if you've got a health condition and you ask your GP for an exemption certificate, they've been instructed not to issue any. So I'm delighted to say, this is a good bit, someone has worked their thought processes around this and thought, okay, well, people need these certificates, they're not able to be issued. So they've created their own, and it's a very simple certificate. I will actually write in the description exactly what is on the certificate, and you can get them online for £3. So people in the UK who have got issues about wearing masks, that is what they're doing now. They're getting their own exemption, and they're carrying that around with them. I do want to, at this point in my journey, I could continue this way, I'm going to go back. I do want to add my personal, somewhat cheeky suggestion, which is what has occurred to me. See if I can offend a few people here, quite possibly. I thought about getting some material and cutting out a yellow 6-pointed star and writing the initials PTSD on this piece of yellow material and pinning it with safety pins to my jacket. The tongue would be very much in cheek if I was to be doing that, because of course it would actually activate certain historical memories within the human race to do with what went on in World War II. Because to me I can see a parallel between the curtailment of freedom, and I'm aware that there are places in the world where people are literally picked up off the street and disappeared in vans. That's happening in Portland, Oregon in recent times. There's all sorts of very disturbing things are going on, but that's my little film about the masks. So thank you very much, and please like, comment, subscribe, activate notifications, and if you'd like to support my work, please look at the description. Thank you, all the love.